Like, I know that people are like, oh, the lawyer is a Zionist, but yeah, they really know a lot of Zionist talking points and frame this in an extremely Zionist way. I do want to watch Ethan read through this really quick. So, and then we'll get into, okay, let's let Ethan read through this.
Talking points that have been used for decades to legitimize Israelis' colonization of Palestine. Ethan cites sources that contradict his own claims directly, such as the UN report he claims proves the Hamas mass rape allegations, which the report itself denies. The sixth defamatory statement, he spends 20 minutes in the video smearing a 19-year-old survivor of a U.S.-backed Saudi genocide in Yemen as a terrorist with zero credible evidence, he claims. So these are the defamatory statements he said about me, and it's just a party, right? it's just so much fun here. We're having so much fun here, aren't we, Noah?
The other thing that confuses me about this cease and desist letter is they spent like 3 or 4 pages on Mudahar defending him from the first defamatory statement, which was the YouTubers that backed to genocide. It was the title of the video and the thumbnail of the video. And yet they don't defend Ethan from that, which is really interesting. It's either like, oh no, it's implied that our client, I guess they say it right here. Further, it is clear that you knew Ethan did not support the because you watched or claimed to watch content nuke Hassan Piker. And in the nuke, Ethan expresses his repeated condemnation of Israel's treatment of Palestinians. This emphasizes that you knew Ethan did not support genocide in Gaza, but still labeled him being one. Just once again, like weird grammar. Additionally, Ethan condemned the genocide in Gaza on numerous occasions prior to the nuke. Your desire to falsely paint Ethan as supporting genocide in Gaza is emphasized by the end of your first defamatory video where you state, and then all of this. But anyway, it's kind of weird that they don't give it like its own segment, right? They're not like, okay, we're going to address this defamatory statement for Ethan now. And just once again, if Ethan says, oh yeah, I don't support the genocide, but then he insists on saying, oh, but Israel has points and Gaza has points, and like actually Hamas is to blame for this war, Noah Samsen can easily just say, yeah, I view that like you blame Hamas for what's happening as supporting the genocide or like backing the genocide. And Noah Samsen literally like explains his definition of backing genocide in his video. And then goes on to explain how Ethan Klein fits into that.
Further, it is clear you knew that Ethan did not support genocide in Gaza because you watched or claimed to watch content nuke Hassan Piker. In the nuke, Ethan expresses his repeated condemnation of Israelis' treatment of Palestinians. This emphasizes that you knew Ethan did not support genocide in Gaza, but still labeled him being one. Additionally, Ethan condemns the genocide in Gaza on numerous occasions prior to the nuke. And these are all attached with sources of what he's referencing. Your desire to falsely paint Ethan as supporting genocide in Gaza is emphasized by the end of the first defamatory video where you state, quote, I think many of you can probably also help out with that. Most of you have smartphones and cameras and TikTok. So go ahead, start posting about it, spread the work. Aside from being a morally good thing to do, it's also becoming sustainable. You know, it's algorithmically viable. The Ethan Klein crash out industrial complex is booming. Isn't that interesting? This statement demonstrates that you intended to not just have third parties spread defamatory statements about Ethan, but profit from these defamatory statements. You proved this point yourself. When your video entitled Manufacturing Consent for Genocide failed to receive many views, the one prior to the second video,
Ethan doesn't believe it's genocide. He continuously refers to it as a war. He's made arguments why Palestinians need to be kept out of Israel and why Jews need their own homeland. He blames Hamas for this happening. He might say every now and then, I don't support the genocide, but he talks about it as a war. So what do you want from me?
Particularly in comparison to the first defamatory video, you made the second defamatory video to further profit from your defamatory statements about Ethan. What a psychotic thing to say. Everybody go on and lie about Ethan everywhere, and you can make a pretty penny doing it. Nice one, dude.
Once again, he's defaming Noah Samsen, and as Noah Samsen never said lie about Ethan. He said call out the lies that Ethan's made. Like every single time he opens his mouth about Noah Samsen, he's defaming him.
The second defamatory statement and the fifth defamatory statement. So now we're going to prove these wrong. The second defamatory statement, you do not disclose the factual basis for how Ethan engaged in every type of manufacturer consent, with one exception, your false assertion that Ethan spread the Hamas hoax, which you expanded upon with the fifth defamatory statement, i.e. the false assertion that Ethan misrepresented the UN report on sexual violence. The mass rapes on October 7th were not a hoax. In your defamatory video, you cite paragraph 84 and 86 from the UN report. First defamatory video, from the language you displayed in the defamatory video, it makes it clear that there were mass rapes on October 7th. Quote, overall, based on the totality of information gathered from multiple and independent sources at the different locations, there are reasonable grounds to believe that conflict-related violence occurred at several locations across Gaza periphery, including in forms of gang during the 7th of October attacks. Credible circumstantial information, which may be indicative of some forms of sexual violence, including mutilation, torture, or cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment, was also gathered. This, by the way, in the reports that Noah says that nothing happened, which is a continued talking point that I see by him, Hassan, and Co. being like, oh, actually, that UN report completely exonerates Hamas. It's like, you're fucking lying, dude.
Yeah, I might want to like look into the Ryan Kavanaugh thing. Like, if we're going to get more into the legal stuff, that'd be interesting. But I have no idea. I don't even know who Ryan Kavanaugh is. I thought he was a fucking Supreme Court judge at first. I'm like, wow, Ethan's really bringing this lawsuit to the top.
You're actually lying. And not only that, you're siding with terrorists over people who are genitally mutilated, tortured, gang raped, and degraded by cruel treatment. You are throwing them aside to side with terrorists. In this case,
he's like, you're siding with terrorists over, like, once again, this is defamatory. Ethan's saying that Noah is siding with terrorists when Noah is simply calling out the lies that Ethan is saying on his show and in his videos. Let's just read. Let's just open our eyes and read. It says credible circumstantial information which may be indicative of some forms of sexual violence, including, and then they list the different forms of sexual violence, was also gathered. So they're not saying that they found evidence of all of these forms of sexual violence. They're saying they had credible circumstantial information which could be indicative of some forms of sexual violence, right? They gathered credible circumstantial information which may be indicative of some forms of violence. That's what that sentence is saying. And Ethan takes that and he says, you are siding with terrorists against all of these people who experienced sexual violence and had their mutilated. Like, that is simply lying about what Noah Samsen is doing, and it's also lying about what this UN report has said that it found.
Tortured, gang raped, and degraded by cruel treatment. You are throwing them aside to side with terrorists. In this case, Hamas.
Once again, he doesn't have names of anyone doing this because the reports haven't been finalized. This is an extremely preliminary report that literally calls for more investigations to be done because they couldn't have gathered all of the information to say anything conclusive.
That's insane. It is. It has to be. Like, I think the collective online left has just completely lost its mind. I think it's just totally rotten from the core. And I mean, this is just proof of it. Not only is Noah out here saying this, he's being propped up by everybody on Twitter. From Hassan. Hassan has watched all of his videos in their entirety. He's dedicated hours of time watching Noah's videos and the human STD, watching all of his videos. God, he really is a human STD. That's so good.
Guys, you know it's a good joke when you have to tell when you have to tell your friends it's a good joke.
I'd love to see step foot outside of Argentina and see how fast he gets sued by like a dozen people. But that's okay. None of them are as dedicated, as crazy, and as willing to waste money as I am. So boy, I think he's safe out there. But he's not. He's just never really come up against someone like me. I'll just be honest. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I have more money than them. I'm more dedicated than them. I've completely fucking thrown every
I mean, he knows, like, he's admitting this is a frivolous lawsuit, right? He's literally saying, no, I'm wasting money. I'm wasting money doing this. I'm willing to waste money to basically get someone to take down their video about me. Or, like, at this point, it's not even to get someone to take down their video. It's just about making him feel good.
All these things are like, maybe it's not worth it. That's all gone. Maybe it's not worth it to spend $1 million pursuing some human STD in Argentina. No, that's gone. See, that's gone. When you guys contributed.
Guys, I'm not in favor of violence, but I actually kind of want to see Ethan go through a training montage, challenge Bad Empanada to a boxing match or like an MMA fight, and then they have a fight in Argentina. That would be so fucking sick. If they like agree to just settle this in the cage, and then you get Ethan in like little MMA shorts. He does like some ground about like Pat Empanada would go to Dagestan and get the Dagestani buff because he's got the beard.
To an atmosphere in which the CPS was called on my house. When you specifically joked about calling the CPS, when you specifically suggested I was lying about the CPS coming to my house, when you specifically propagated this whole thing by saying that my kids were crawling around and eating shit, potentially eating shit.
Okay. I just wanted to listen to Ethan read through this letter. I didn't want him to
himself
go on some kind of reverie about how bad Empanada has ruined his life. All right, let's just play him reading it a little bit
based
more.
On the totality. Oh yeah, so it continues. We were talking about that.
Does he actually think he's being intimidating? He has no chance to actually win a single lawsuit he filed. Ethan just thinks I have more money than Noah Samsen, and thus I can beat him in court by just spending money. He's just chugging Mountain Dew and ranting. All right, I just want to read I'm going to skip over the bad Empanada part, but I just want to hear him read some of these things and see if I get any funny comments out of him.
So where were we? Overall, based on the totality. Oh yeah, so it continues. We were talking about that Noah says I perpetuate the mass hoax by misreporting what's in the UN report. The UN report, with regards to the hostages, the mission team found clear and convincing information that some hostages taken in Gaza have been subjected to various forms of conflict-related violence and has reasonable grounds to believe that such violence is ongoing. Paragraph 86 of the UN report does not support the assertion that Hamas does not engage in mass on October 7th. As the plain language of paragraph 86 states, the investigators could not determine the exact scope of this violence because it will require a separate, more comprehensive investigation, not because there was no evidence. Once again, Noah and many others lie about this to whitewash Hamas's reputation, which again is you don't need to do that. You don't need to run defense for Hamas to be pro-Palestinian. And I don't know why you think that. It's really quite a thing.
It's okay, you don't need to run defense for Hamas to be pro-Palestinian. Once again, I've addressed this before. It's yeah, you don't need to support Hamas to be pro-Palestinian, but you should understand what Hamas is. And once again, it is resisting an imperial genocidal power. That's what Hamas is. And I also like how Ethan says that if you try to push back against the narratives that there is 100% verifiable evidence that mass happened on October 7th, if you try to push against that, you are running defense for Hamas. It's why do you feel like you need to make the claim that mass happened, Ethan? Why do you feel like you need to make that claim when there is not good enough evidence that happened? Citing the UN report properly. Let's just listen to what Noah Samsen actually said about this.
About the Houthis. It was about the Yemeni government before the Houthi takeover. He spreads long debunked Nakba denialist talking points that have been used for decades to legitimize Israeli colonization of Palestine. Ethan cites sources that contradict his own claims directly, such as the UN report he claims proves the Hamas mass allegation.
There's a UN report that concludes it happened,
which the report itself denies. He spends 20 minutes.
Yeah, okay, so let's just make this really clear. Ethan says there's a UN report that proves mass happened. Let's get a little bit I'm just gonna get really, really deep into this. UN report.
Who were in high
of the life as a hostage in Gaza.
Doesn't matter if rapes happened on October 7th.
Hassan, maybe you would like to call her a liar. Please, go right ahead.
Doesn't matter if rapes happened on October 7th.
There are dozens of testimonies from witnesses, most of who were in hiding and heard or saw it happen. And each week there's more stories.
So just right off the bat, I think, I don't have the context for this, but I think this person, giving the testimonial right now, was a witness to sexual violence happening underneath the control of Hamas as a hostage. I believe so.
Coming out. There's a UN report that concludes it. Dozens of testimonies from witnesses, most of who were in hiding and heard or saw it happen. And each week there's more stories coming out. There's a UN report that concludes it happened.
Doesn't matter.
But Hassan needs a kit from a mute.
So once again, Ethan is saying there's a UN report that mass happened on October 7th because he is directly addressing Hassan, saying it doesn't matter if mass happened on October 7th. That doesn't change the idea that is bad. So Ethan is very clearly saying there is a UN report saying that mass happened on October 7th. And Noah Samsen says it says the opposite, that it doesn't happen.
Debunked Nakba.
That there is no evidence that mass happened happened on October 7th, or at least like not
Palestine.
enough.
Ethan cites sources that contradict his own claims directly, such as the UN report he claims proves the Hamas mass rapes allegation,
There's a UN report that concludes it happened.
which the report itself denies. He spends
Yeah, so he says, this report contradicts Ethan's claim, right? And then he says, the report itself denies that this report proves mass rapes happened, which is literally true, okay? So I don't know like where we were, but just had to go down that little logic train.
Again, it's like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to run defense for Hamas to be pro-Palestinian. And I don't know why you think that. It's really quite a thing. Meanwhile, the Gazans are actually protesting Hamas, and they're trying to whitewash them. Isn't that incredible? The mission team was unable to establish the prevalence of sexual violence and concludes that the overall magnitude, scope, and specific attribution of these violations would require a fully fledged investigation. A comprehensive investigation would enable the information base to be expanded in locations which the mission team was not able to visit, and to build the required trust with survivors, victims of conflict-related sexual violence, who may be reluctant to come forward at this point. And there, these people are calling them all liars. How about that, huh? Additionally, immediately after the second defamatory...
It's funny. It's like, call who liars? No one's came forward. People aren't calling people that have given their experience with sexual violence liars. People are not, no one's ever called them that. Ethan's like, wow, this UN report says that no one's came forward to talk about their experience with sexual violence. Hassan is calling all of them liars. No one even came forward.
Statement. You cite materials you claim support your assertion that the same hoax that was used by the Western media, the U.S. government and the Israeli government to justify the material you cited, however, only discusses conflict-related sexual violence in general and not October 7th. And it did not discuss Israel's action in Gaza whatsoever. By misrepresenting the factual basis of the second defamatory statement, particularly...
Holy shit. Once again, Ethan is changing the meaning of this report, which changed the meaning of Noah Samsen's video. Like, just read the words. Ethan says, and not October 7th. No, it says not just October 7th. That literally is like the opposite of what you're saying.
Reviewing the UN report yourself, you knew the second defamatory statement was false. Third defamatory statement. Despite making the factual assertion that Ethan spreads, quote, overt misinformation and, quote, straight up lies about Hezbollah, you do not identify a single piece of misinformation or falsehoods Ethan made about the organization. It's incredible. I went and I've watched the video, and there, so many times he goes, Ethan has done this horrible thing, and then just moves on with zero support. Indeed, you do not address, let alone refute, the assertions made in the nuke that state, 1, Hezbollah engages in terrorism resulting in the deaths of thousands of civilians. 2, Hezbollah orchestrated the assassination of Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik al-Hariri. 3, Hezbollah hijacked airplanes. 4, Hezbollah fired 15,000 rockets in civilian areas. 5, Hezbollah intervened in the Syrian civil war to aid the dictator Bashar al-Assad, which resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of civilians. And 6, Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah has made numerous anti-Semitic and statements against Jews. 7, Hezbollah initiated the most recent rounds of fighting on October 8th, not Israel, which resulted in 100 Israelis killed and over 200,000 displaced. All statements of fact, by the way, that he did zero effort to refute. He just says, I'm, quote, straight up lying with overt misinformation.
Bro, like you literally, like your lawyer is literally misrepresenting what you said in the content nuke to make your feelings better or whatever the fuck, or just lie on your behalf.
As to the Houthis, you do not claim Ethan lied or spread misinformation about the Houthis. 1, recruiting child soldiers. 2, shelling civilians. 3, blocking aid to civilians. 4, ruining agricultural land with mines. 5, oppressing women and members of the LGBTQ community. 6, torturing and killing women. 7, performing salutes. 8, flag states death to Israel and curse upon the Jews. 9, captured the Galaxy Leader in international waters, not Yemeni waters, and the ship was not destined or traveling from Israel. And 10, took the crew of the Galaxy Leader who were not Israeli hostage. Did he attempt to interface with any of the factual assertions I made?
Also, what the hell? Like, I'm just looking this up right now, and it's like, from the 7th of October 2023 to the 20th of September 2024, there were 10,200 cross-border attacks, of which Israel launched 8,300. Over 96,000 people in Israel and over 111,000 in Lebanon have been displaced during this period. So saying that Hezbollah initiated the most recent round of fighting on October 8th, not Israel, which resulted in 100 Israelis killed and over 200,000 displaced, that 200,000 is including 111,000 Lebanese. Once again, their lawyer is literally just lying. Like, I need to write this down. I need to add this to my fucking falsehoods that they did. Like, I'm not even going to get into who started the attacks first because it's irrelevant and people are just going to lie and say that it was Israel. But like, they say, which resulted in 100 Israelis killed and over 200,000 displaced, when they're including the 111,000 Lebanese people that were displaced, is insane. Like, to just change that number like that is so fucking dishonest. They claim so lawyers said 200,000 Israelis were displaced. Lawyers said 200,000 Israelis were displaced when only 96,000 were displaced and 111,000 Lebanese were displaced. I mean, also, they fucking imply that Lebanon and Hezbollah was the major instigator in this violence when Israel's launched like 80% of the missiles. Yeah, 10,200 cross-border attacks. Israel launched 8,300 of them. So literally, Hezbollah just launched 1,900 missiles. It's so dishonest. Like, I'm not, like, I know that people are like, oh, the lawyer is a Zionist, but yeah, they really know a lot of Zionist talking points and frame this in an extremely Zionist way.
No, of course not. He just accuses me of spreading overt misinformation and, quote, straight up lies. Instead, you focus solely on Ethan's assertion that the Houthis engage in slavery. You do not, however, proffer facts refuting this assertion. Rather, you attempt to impeach the credibility of the source relied upon by Ethan. For example, you attack the article...
Voice crack. He's a beta.
Instead, you focus solely on Ethan's assertion that the Houthis engage in slavery. You do not, however, proffer facts refuting this assertion. Rather, you attempt to impeach the credibility of the source relied upon by Ethan. For example, you attack the article entitled Exclusive, Houthis Restore Slavery in Yemen. One more time, I'll read that title for you. You attack the article entitled Exclusive, Houthis Restore Slavery in Yemen, from Asark al-Awsat, English version. The article itself refers to receiving information from sources close to the group, several local reports, Yemeni activists, and members of the lawyer syndicate in Yemen, and a civilian who works for a pro-Houthi tribal leader in Sa'ada. Other than your blithe assertions that the article contains baseless claims from, quote, Saudi state propaganda outlets, you cite no evidence to refute the substance of the articles or the sources it's relied upon. Checkmate. Try to spin that one. You and your human STD friend. Try to spin that, bro. We wrote this letter specifically to be as dry and factually to the point as possible so that there was like no spin, no drama, no way to like just make like a slop drama video out of this. He's got to show what it says and he's got to respond to it. I mean, he has to respond to us legally speaking. Further, it is evident you did not even watch the Al Jazeera World documentary, Slavery in Yemen.
Well, I just want to like go back to this point really quick. Just what did Noah say for it? So the third defamatory statement, 4356.
About what happened.
Lies about Hezbollah and Ansar Allah, or the Houthis, in order to delegitimize their struggle against Israel's genocide. He cites baseless claims from Saudi state propaganda outlets to attack the Houthis. He also cites a documentary about Ansar.
Okay, so he just said it's a baseless claim by Saudi state propaganda outlets. Well, I mean, considering it's extremely hard to find any sources that back up that article, like, sure, you can say, like, there's no evidence that Noah knew that it had a basis and was purposely lying about it. Okay, whatever. I mean, the other thing is, like, this is pretty clearly a lie by Ethan and his lawyers.
The documentary focused on Yemen's overall culture of slavery and deposed government's denial of its existence. Moreover, it is highly misleading to claim it was issued before the Houthi takeover of Yemen, since the Houthis controlled part of Yemen as early as March 2011 with the Battle of Sa'ada. Further, the Al Jazeera documentary was released on September 10th, 2014, 6 days before the Battle of Sana'a, and 11 days before the Houthis prevailed on September 21st, 2014. Your blithe factual assertions that Ethan misrepresented information about Hezbollah and the Houthis, particularly after you watched the nuke, along with failing to disclose or misrepresent the factual basis of the third defamatory statement, demonstrates you knew it was false.
Like, how is Ethan actually believing in that? They're like, oh yeah, you said that this documentary came out before the Houthis got into power. However, this documentary actually came out 10 days before the Houthis got into power. Checkmate, liberal.
By the way, just because he says, I mean, here's some of the sources. Let's see, state.gov, let's see, this is an independent report on slavery in Yemen, independent.co, aljazeera.com. I don't know what you expect us to cite there, bud. And a Wikipedia article for, citing basic historical facts, which is completely acceptable. The fourth defamatory statement. For the fourth defamatory statement, you do not identify what Ethan said that denied the Nakba, how these points were debunked, and how these talking points legitimize Israeli colonization. Instead, you show a screenshot of Bad Empanada, aka the human STD, his video entitled Nakba Denier, Expulsion Liar, Content Nuke Destroyed, with the text debunked here by the human STD. So again, this is why we're forced to talk about you, is because Noah, in his infinite wisdom, and just obviously being an expert on the topic, he accuses me of Nakba denial that legitimizes Israeli occupation, and his proof is go watch document STD's video on it. Okay, that's what we did. That's how legal briefs work. And by the way, if you want to keep encouraging, what you're doing right now is like, you're trying to do misinformation, but the thing is, this is coming, whether you believe it or not, right? So you better talk to your boy Noah and set him straight, because you can laugh about this all day being a ChatGPT generated and that it's just whatever, and I'm doing it, whatever it is you want to say, it's coming. And in 20 days, unless he retracts everything noted here, my boy is getting sued by 2 people for defamation in the state of California. It's coming, and you can't stop it. That's right. Enjoy. We're having fun, aren't we, Noah? Just like you promised. You are well aware that Bad Empanada exhibited tremendous bias against Ethan and is known for spreading misinformation and anti-Semitism. The Bad Empanada video exemplifies this point. The Bad Empanada video begins with him claiming Ethan Klein attempts to justify the Israeli settler colonial state by glossing over the Nakba. Bad Empanada's video at this time. This is completely false, and Bad Empanada fails to show any clip from the nuke supporting this assertion. Rather, in the clip cited, Bad Empanada, Ethan discusses 1, that Jews would not feel safe as an ethnic minority, and 2, Israel is comprised of refugees from Europe and Arab countries, and 3, following the 1948 war, there were more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba, and 4, there are hardly any Jews left in Arab countries. Bad Empanada, you do not attempt to address any of these factual assertions. None of this denies the Nakba or downplays it. Rather, it is a fact that approximately 900,000 Jews migrated, fled, or expelled from Muslim-majority countries throughout Africa and Asia, primarily as a consequence of the establishment of the State of Israel. And the Nakba turned 700,000 Palestinians into refugees, which was mainly caused by Israeli arms. Next, Bad Empanada attempts to debunk the exodus of Jews from Morocco by arguing.
I mean,
Morocco,
once again,
this is when Rom gets...
Once again, it's like Ethan said 1 million people were expelled from Arab states. He didn't say 900,000 people were displaced due to a variety of factors, like push and pull factors. I'm just going to skip through this. I want to just get to the Rashid al-Haddad segment.
6 defamatory statement was false. Noah actually says, I claim that the...
Okay, let's
Somehow
rewind
there's
this
no
bit.
Jews left in any of these countries. The 6th defamatory statement. You completely failed to disclose the factual base of the 6th defamatory statement that Ethan labeled al-Haddad as a terrorist was... so now we're talking about the Houthi Luffy. Labeled al-Haddad as a terrorist with 0 credible evidence. The nuke shows social media posts of al-Haddad admitting to being a Houthi terrorist and echoes the...
Okay, so yeah, that is a typo. So many typos in this too.
Houthi rhetoric. Despite your knowledge of al-Haddad's social media posts, you stated, quote, there was 0 credible evidence, and that al-Haddad was a Houthi without any supporting evidence or argument whatsoever. This demonstrates you knew the 6th defamatory statement was false. Noah actually says, I claimed that the Houthi Luffy was a terrorist with 0 support. Like, bro, what the fuck reality are we living in? I dedicated quite a large swath of that video to showing that this guy's a terrorist. In conclusion, our clients demand you provide a retraction and correction of all the defamatory statements identified in this letter in compliance with California Civil Code Section.
Okay, I just had to get this done today, looking through the lawsuit that Ethan Klein is potentially going to hit Noah Samsen with, and I think it's going to be so funny. So anyway, guys, that's all from me for tonight, and I'll be back later. Peace. But guys, consider signing up for memberships. It helps me out, helps my editors out. Only $1 a month, so it's really not a big deal. Your name can be green. That will be cool. And thanks for watching, everyone.